we're speaking with them, how do we create the optimal situation for speaking with the child where we're not alone, but they aren't gonna be influenced by the other adults that are in the room?
Oh, boy. I would say it's gonna depend on the age of the child, it's gonna depend on the history of the child. Do you wanna, I mean, it's just so case dependent, but by the same token, you're probably visiting the child in their placement. So maybe you're in the living room, but Aunt Susie's in the kitchen and she can see everything, but not necessarily hear everything.
Okay.
And you might say, Aunt Susie, can you stay in the kitchen while I visit, with Billy? And I'll let you know when I'm done. Because y'all, depending on their age, you may just be playing a game, and I think what Casas, I talked to Casa today, as a matter of fact, and he said, I drove all the way up there to Dallas and it was a 25-minute visit. The kids are really young. They don't have an attention span to spend 3 hours with them,
Yeah, I would agree that it's about being in the same building, a different part of the same building with every door open. Yeah. And another thing you could do that I find very helpful is, there's a test, it's called a HAAK, H-A-A-K, sentence completion. And you give it to a kid, and there's like 30 or 40 sentence stems, and it says, mother's blank, I wish my father blank, right? And the kid just fills in the question, right? And you just sort of, by definition, end up projecting something of your inner workings onto that, right? And so you might do that. You might just like say, hey, I've got this little thing that you may want to do it, you may not, but I'm gonna start a sentence and I want you to finish it. So my favorite ice cream is blank. You've written non-threatening, right? And my favorite food, my favorite color, my best friend, my favorite memory, the thing I miss about my family is, and then you start getting into the deep stuff. And it's a way to develop a conversation without asking this really ambiguous, well, tell me how you feel about being away from your parents. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? So it just creates more structure around.
It does, and it's one of the things that AJ will be talking about tomorrow and actually giving us examples about connecting with kids.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so, like, when we use that in our interviewing, there's a list of questions for kids too, and I think it is just to be a little more structured. It's not gonna be, hey, how are you feeling since you've been placed in this foster home? It's never that black and white. Maybe if you were talking to an adult, but probably not. Even, we did Wednesday's Child today, and the 14-year-old boy was probably operating on about 9 or 10. He has some borderline intellectual disability, but mostly it was, he's been in foster care for 10 years. Terrible. And I think that's mainly what the issue is that he's had 2 almost failed adoptions. Yeah. So, just cruddy stuff. So, what other questions? All right, well, we're a little bit past our time, but we will thank Dr.